Today is Thursday, March 21st. And before we get to the episode, this is the start of the NCAA Big Dance. Enormous games, 16 of them today, 16 of them tomorrow. And for those who are interested, I've put my picks against the line up at my account on X, at Norm's Clubhouse. At Norm's Clubhouse. They're up there free. If you're interested, there they are. And now on to today's episode, where I'm just wondering if we can decipher the NFL language of Jones-ish.
And now a word from our title sponsor.
Are all financial advisors fiduciaries? Fewer than you think. Not knowing could reduce your lifestyle. Hi, I'm Mitch Kramer, founder and CEO of Fluent Financial. A fiduciary is a regulatory term to reduce conflicts of interest in wealth management. A fiduciary always works in your best interest. A non-fiduciary advisor might put their compensation or company ahead of yours. At Fluent Financial, we are certified financial planners acting as fiduciary advisors. To learn more, go to fluentfinancial.com or Fluent Financial's YouTube channel.
Introducing Star Power Smart Home Solutions, where cutting-edge technology meets effortless living. Control your entire home with just a tap on your smartphone. Adjust the lights, set the temperature, ensure your home is totally secure, all from the palm of your hand. Experience the ultimate solution in comfort and security for your family. Start by going to the website, GetStarPower.com. That's GetStarPower.com. Have you ever had a situation where you're called upon to say something and you don't really have much to say, but you've got to say something? So you then say something, and people pick up that statement and at times can pick it apart. I've never liked that about sports talk. I've hopefully tried to avoid it. That is, just picking apart statements and reading other things into them. But the Cowboys have been so slow in free agency this year that even Stephen Jones, their vice president, feels the need to say something. Now, what can he say? Well, he gives us this statement. I've always been about the ilk that you, in the first couple of days of free agency, you pay good players like they're great. You pay average players like they're good, and so on and so forth. Because the market's inflated in our mind. That's one opinion. That's the way I look at things too. Stephen Jones is telling you the absolute truth. A lot of the bargains look like bargains aren't going to be bargains at all. At the end of the year or 2 years, teams are going to get out of those contracts. And they may have some leftover salary cap hit because of what they did this year. But that doesn't make it any easier on you, the Cowboy fan. What are the Cowboys doing? Well, the answer to that pretty much is nothing. Now, before we get into some players, I have to tell you, Stephen Jones' statement is true. One other thing is true. I don't think the Cowboys have a lot of money to spend in free agency now. So players going off the board that would help this team are going off the board because the Cowboys simply don't have money to pay them. Now, they did do a little tweaking of Dak Prescott's contract, but believe me, it was just a little tweaking. This club to start spending is going to need money. Now, I know they cut Michael Gallup, but the money he saved them can't be used until after June 1st. So the Cowboys find themselves on the outside of the market with their noses pressed against the glass, looking at what's going on inside the NFL. And every day, more and more players go off the marketplace. Now, some of them are stars, like this week. Kevin Zeitler has gone to the Lions. Trent Brown has gone to Cincinnati. That's a guard and that's a tackle the Cowboys could have really used. But can they really afford? There are lots of other backups going off the board too. And that's the problem. Some of these players are fairly cheap. Now, could the Cowboys gotten into that market? Remember, a running back they liked, Zach Moss, went off the board for only 2 years for $9 million. And that was too much for the Cowboys. And Jonathan Hankins, the defensive tackle who's been here the last year and a half, the Cowboys apparently liked him, but Seattle liked him a little more monetarily. But Hankins has gone to Seattle, leaving yet another hole in the Cowboys lineup. There are a lot of players out there who can still play. Steven's right that you can still find good players out there, but you've got to go start collecting them, and that takes cap money. Who's still out there? Well, I like the center Connor Williams, who left the Miami Dolphins and is free. Now, we must understand something. Connor Williams suffered an ACL injury at the end of last year. And there's some question of just when Connor Williams will be ready to play again. But center's really a need on this team. Let's go to some others. Stephon Gilmore's still out there. Boy, he was good for the Cowboys last year, the cornerback. There are lots of safeties headed by Justin Simmons. He'll require some money to sign. And Justin Blackmon, the Colts player, he'll require some money to sign also. But these are good players. There's a running back out there. I know the running back market it looks just dry right now. But J.K. Dobbins got hurt last year playing for the Baltimore Ravens. He'd be a good player to sign as long as the medicals check out that he'll be ready for training camp. What else is out there? Gee, the tackle Mekhi Becton is out there. The guard tackle Andres Pete, free from the Saints. The guard Dalton Risner, who was a good player for the Dolphins, or not the Dolphins, the Broncos, and is not back out in the marketplace. And the linebacker, Quan Alexander. Listen, there are players still out there. But every day, you see names going off the board. Names that you see, I see, and I think the Cowboys see could help them. I pulled up a Dallas Morning News article from about 2 weeks ago, and the reporters there are pretty plugged in the Cowboys side of things and get information on the Cowboys side of things. And they listed free agent targets for the Cowboys. They listed 10 of them on offense and 8 of them on defense. And I pulled that article back up. Here's what I found. They listed 5 runners who could be targets for the Cowboys. None of them are left in free agency. They listed 5 offensive linemen. 3 of them are left in free agency. They listed 4 defensive linemen that could be targets for the Cowboys. They're all gone. They listed 4 linebackers the club might be interested in. They're all gone also. I'm now going to finish that Stephen Jones quote. He said, "I've always said it, in player acquisition, it's 365 days a year. It's not just the first or second or third day of free agency." Steven's absolutely right here. You can find players. The Chiefs, the Ravens, found players in June last year who helped them. But while it's a 365 days a year process of trying to find good football players, the first week or so of free agency is where you can find good football players. And they keep moving off the board. And I know it's making Cowboy fans anxious, and I'll bet it's making the Cowboys anxious. I mean, Zach Moss, Jonathan Hankins, and who knows how many others have escaped because other teams had more cap room. I'm reminded of an old story from horse racing. It was my friend Steve Asmussen, one of the really wonderful trainers in horse racing. In fact, he's led the country in wins a couple of times. It was a race. It was a big race, the feature race of the day. And Asmussen's horse was the favorite. And the race unfolded, and Asmussen's horse made his move, and it didn't work. And he finished fairly badly beaten. And after the race, I interviewed Steve Asmussen, and he said about the horse race, the holes were moving faster than we were. Right now, that's happening a bit to the Cowboys. They've got these holes. They see people who could fill them, but by the time they get to them, other people have seen those players also, and they've taken them off the board. It'll be interesting to see in the next week or 2 or 3 or 4 if the Cowboys can still scoop up 1 or 2 of these players. It sure would help to get Dak's contract redone, giving them salary cap space, but there are other ways to create space, and the Cowboys need to do that because they have holes, and free agency right now is moving faster than the Cowboys can fill those holes.
Today's episode brought to you by Fluent Financial, Retire Sooner, Better Lifestyle, and by Star Power, Love Where You Live.
Just Wondering is a production of DSP Media for FanStream Sports. You can find Norm's show along with other great programming at fanstreamsports.com.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you enjoyed it, hit follow. And every weekday, a fresh new episode of Just Wondering will be delivered right to you. And if you enjoy this podcast, please share it with a friend. Finally, should you have questions or comments, please share them with us by going to X and our address at Norm's Clubhouse. That's Just Wondering with Norm Hitzges. And every day, I'll be just wondering about something.